gears at my feet push me into glory, stronger than defeat. Memories come alive when hard work and sacrifice create the moments we remember for a century down the road. Reduced to one horizon, unreachable at first sight, under the halo of our heroes, we're approaching our destiny. 100 years of epic stories, a century of expertise.
That's the kind of reception we're like, thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Woo! Make some noise. I like it. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, yes, good. We have a rider renowned as much for his tactics and the astute way that he managed to win races as the incredible talent that he displayed. Winner of Milan San Remo, Australian champion, first Australian to win a stage in all 3 Grand Tours, ladies and gentlemen, Simon Gerrans. I'll give you another kiss. I'll give you another kiss. That's a home welcome for you now, Simon. This is your home, London. Yeah. Do we accept him as an honorary Londoner? No! How's London life?
Good, it's busy.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's been a great change. So I've been in London coming up 12 months now, and it's gone past in a flash.
Did you ever think you'd be a Londoner? Did you ever think you'd come and live here?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah?
Of cycling before going back to Australia. I think Australia's not going anywhere anytime soon. So why not?
Well, let's talk about your amazing cycling career then. 4 stage wins at the Grand Tours, individual, of course. Then there were the team time trials. Which of those stood out for you, and for what reason?
They're all so special in their own way. But I think my first win in the Tour de France was my first Grand Tour stage win. That was really special because for that point, it's like I really felt like I arrived on the big stage, and I justified my place in the pro peloton by winning a stage in the Tour de France. So that was special. But probably the I sort of ended up in the yellow jersey off the back of that, but that was just a really special feeling to win that stage alongside a bunch of really close mates and to celebrate that all together. That was really amazing.
So
element than anything else. Obviously, to wear the yellow jersey is a huge honour, and it's a very special thing that not many people get to experience. But to win alongside mates and stand up on the podium all together as winners of that stage is what made it extra special.
that was 2013, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
As you say, not many people get to experience what it's like to wear a yellow jersey. Presuming no one else here has ever done it. I'm going to take
The back room.
yeah, there are a few in the day. What's it actually like? Because a lot of the time I speak to people immediately after maybe their day in yellow, and it feels like from them it's gone in a blur, that they weren't able to properly enjoy it, because obviously you're at the Tour de France. It's the hardest bike race in the world. What do you remember from that day?
You're not really thinking about it too much at the time. You're kind of just in the moment. You're so focused on the job at hand. It's defending the yellow jersey. It's trying to win the next stage. There's so much going on at the Tour de France. It's probably only afterwards, when you finish the race, you go home, you decompress just a little bit, the reality of it sinks in, what you've achieved to lead the Tour de France, because you become like known worldwide overnight by leading the Tour de France, and that makes it pretty special.
Were there anything during that day, maybe a fan calling from the side of the road, or a realisation, can't see where we are now, a realisation of looking down and seeing that yellow jersey, or is there any distinct memory or feel or smell or sensation from that day that you think, oh yeah, that takes me back?
I think the one thing that stands out, you just understand the day that everyone looks for you. Every spectator on the side of the road is looking for the yellow jersey, and everybody knows your name. So everybody's cheering for you on that one day. So that makes it. That's one thing that I'll never forget, and yeah, that's one thing that's sort of etched into my memory from those 4 days.
So you won 2 stages at the Tour de France and a stage each at the Giro and the Vuelta. How do they compare? I mean, we were chatting quite a bit this season on the breakaway. You're a guest on the breakaway in Eurosport in the Giro, and talking about what it takes to win a stage at a Grand Tour. Do they compare? Do they differ in any noticeable way, or is it just a case of try your luck at it?
No, my stage, I was never good enough just to try my luck on the day to finish in the front. Yeah, my wins were all very well planned, very strategic how I went about that. So a lot of planning went into winning on those stages. Early on in my career, I would get the race book and I would circle the stages profile-wise that I thought suited me, and then you worked out at what point in the race it would calm down and the breakaways would sort of have more chances of surviving to the finish, and those were the days I targeted. And then
How far in advance, I'm intrigued, how far in advance of a Grand Tour would you sit down with that road book and say, that's the day, that's the spot, that's where I'm going to go?
As soon as they released the stage details, you started to pencil out what days I was going to target. And then from that point on, I would start to do some specific training for those particular days. But for myself, I was really targeting the days that really replicated sort of a hilly one-day race, is what I was going for. And I literally raced them like they were a one-day race as well. Ride into them as easy as possible, go all out for that one day, and then try and recover as hard as that is in a race like the France the following days.
So on 4 occasions that worked perfectly in your career. How many times did you sit down with the road book and plan? It would have been from this time in the season, I guess. We know details of routes for next year. How many times did that not work out?
Oh, many times. Many more times than the 4 times it did work out. But when I made that breakaway, the biggest battle was actually to make the breakaway. And once you're out there, you're no longer competing against the whole peloton, you're competing against the group of guys around you. You had to motivate everybody for the breakaway to survive to the finish. You had to hope that there was enough motivation in the peloton to chase you down again, and you just had to meet the guys in your immediate company. So once you're whittling down, your chances got better and better.
So this is one thing that intrigues me, the whole politics and the internal workings of a breakaway, and how any breakaway can survive and how others don't. How did you read which breakaway to get into? I mean, you're looking at the stage and thinking, right, today's my day, this is my day. Whatever way it goes, I've got to be in it. So did you just have to pray that the riders that came with you or that you ended up with were the ones that would be allowed to get away? Just hope that fell in your favour?
Well, you'd look for certain things. It's like, okay, what other teams or what other riders are going to be targeted today? So you've got to make sure that if one of those guys go away, then you've got to try and accompany them in the breakaway. You kind of work out when is the leader of the team that's leading the race, when are they try and shut the race down to sort of motivate a breakaway away. So as soon as that's starting to happen, you know you've got to be in front of those guys as well. So there's many things that are going on within the peloton that you're keeping an eye on to sort of enhance your chances of getting in that move.
How do those stage wins and how you went about them compare with the likes of Milan-San Remo, compare with the likes of Liège-Bastogne-Liège?
Oh, they're very similar, to the point that the preparation that goes into them, it was all very well planned, very strategic, and you go in with a plan of how you're going to attack the race. More so for me, that was in Liège than San Remo. San Remo went in as sort of the plan B option of the team, because we had the defending champion, Matt Goss, in the team that year in 2012. And I was given the opportunity late in the race to take my chances, and that unfolded.
Which of those do you think you're proudest of, and for what reason? Milan-San Remo was, to cycling fans, possibly a greater achievement. Anyone outside of cycling will understand a stage win at the Tour de France better. Which means more to you?
My win in Liège-Bastogne-Liège is my favourite.
The one I didn't mention.
Yeah, the other one. Because
Why?
Because there was so much that went into that victory. That was, like, for many years, I think it was probably the 10th time I'd competed in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. It took me 3 or 4 editions even to finish the race, to get to the end, let alone being remotely competitive. I only finished in the front group going for the victory once in that race, and I managed to pull it off for a win. So there was just so much preparation that went into that, and then I had the full support of the team. Everyone was around me on that day, and everybody played their part in that victory, so that made it pretty special.
I mentioned in the intro that you're known for being with, or something you can learn, do you think?
I think you definitely learn the process, and it's learning through trial and error. Like, you try one thing in a race, it didn't quite work out. Okay, you'll do something a little bit different in that same situation next time. But there are no 2 situations in cycling that are ever identical. So you've got to be dynamic. You've got to be able to sort of just not even think on your feet, but react on your feet, and be instinctive about what's happening. So it is something that you learn, but you definitely get better at with experience.
Do you learn from people around you, or do you learn from yourself? Do you have to learn how you do it and how body and mind situation, or can you glean that sort of those lessons from other people?
They might race. What were their strengths? What were their weaknesses? How could you play on either of those to your advantage and get the best out of the situation? So you learn from your mistakes, what you do wrong and right, and you also learn from watching others.
How do the Grand Tours in particular compare these days? You know, and we sat and we watched the Giro day in, day out. How did that compare to when you started racing in particular?
I think the racing, well, for me, this year's Tour de France was one of the most exciting I'd ever watched. Or, you know, I thought it was way more exciting than any time I've ever competed.
So why? What made it so exciting for you?
It was just a dynamic race. There were different people winning each day. There were sort of some outsiders that were doing some phenomenal rides. You know, obviously Alaphilippe he had a phenomenal race and he really inspired the French public and had a lot of support there. So there was just so much happening in this year's Tour de France, which made it interesting. And I think going into the race, there are a number of guys who look like podium contenders. So it just made it a really interesting race. But how I see it these days being different from when I first started doing Grand Tours, the race is a lot closed now. You notice the breakaway will go away in the first at least the first week of the race, and it'll be 2 or 3 guys. The peloton will keep them within 5 minutes. Yeah. It's pretty much just the same scripts day in, day out. Other days where a break will go away and the peloton will give them 15 or 20 minutes. And then
doesn't make it more sterile to watch. And when I ask current riders or current team managers, they sort of shrug their shoulders and say, well, our job is to win a race. Our job is not to sell this sport. But is their job to sell the sport as well, to an extent? And what can be done then to make the racing on stages that do become a little bit more formulaic? What can be done to ignite that a little bit?
Yeah, I agree with the riders in the fact that they're paid to win and they're paid to perform, so they're not paid to put on a show as such. But I think the race organisers are definitely moving towards making the racing more exciting by including these short mountain stages in the tour, which are some of the most exciting to watch. It plays out like watching a movie. It's all over in a few hours. It's racing full speed from start to finish, and it's making the racing a lot more interesting, that's for sure.
Who's doing the best job of that, of making the racing and making the Grand Tours exciting of the 3? Which race?
The Vuelta has always been one of the more exciting races to watch, I think, because you get to that point in the season and no one's completely sure of their form. You've got guys basically that have had ordinary seasons that are targeting the Vuelta. You've had guys that have had a great season and they're running out of form by the Tour of Spain. So that's always been a really exciting race to watch. And traditionally the stages were all a little bit shorter in the Vuelta. So again, that made the racing a little bit more dynamic.
You had your fair share of wins throughout your career, but you did an awful lot of work for other people as well. When it comes to being, say, road captain, for example, what does that entail these days? Like a title, hasn't it? You know, it's gone from being something quite role within their career.
Yeah, I think the road captain role in a team is basically like the captain coach on the road. You're sort of thinking about everybody in the team, making sure everyone is fulfilling their job, fulfilling their roles, so the team leader can focus 100% on his job of winning the race. So it's a very well respected role within the peloton, and it's generally of a guy for guys with a bit more experience that have seen a lot more situations unfold. And that was basically the role I took on for my last season professional at BMC, and it's a role that I really enjoyed.
Why did you do it? What did you like about it?
I think it was a great opportunity just to basically pass on my experiences and try and help develop the next generation of riders coming through. I sort of see these guys coming through and they had 10 times more talent than I thought I had as a racer. So to try and steer their careers the right way and help them get the most out of themselves.
Anyone that you think, I recognise that?
Not exactly, no, because I think a lot of what goes into it you don't see from watching the television. So unless you're there with these guys sort of on the ground, seeing how hard they're working, seeing how focused they are, you don't really get a feel for the sort of riders they are. But in saying that, the level of racing is so high now throughout the entire season. Everyone is so professional from sort of January through to sort of November. The racing is just super competitive, so everyone has to apply themselves.
You mentioned riding for BMC, that your win with Orica, you Team Sky as well, Crédit Agricole. What are the main differences between each of those teams? Because you're saying, you know, how I guess professionalized the whole sport is becoming. It feels like there are more teams now hitting that top level. What was the difference that you saw in your time through those teams? Again,
it was just that level of professionalism that increased throughout my career. And I think, you know, my first few teams were French teams. They were very traditional in their approaches, how they would go about things.
Do you think that's changed?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think years ago, I was lucky enough to be part of the first couple of years of Team Sky, and they just basically forced everyone to level up one more notch, and I think that's forced the French team.
I guess that you saw, and you know, Team Sky were much mocked, they're much maligned really for their attention to detail and marginal gains and all the rest of it, but it's something that obviously everyone has copied now.
Why would they need a helmet? They would definitely not fall. So after 5 years, you were the moron or the unprofessional if you didn't wear the helmet. Suddenly the helmet was part of your dress. You were a cyclist if you wore a helmet.
Well, we developed helmets for pro cyclists on different levels. We went into a wind tunnel. For the future, our company wants to
shook up the soot from the chimney pot into spiral patterns. You, my love, take a little piece and we break it off. It's a bloody racket. It's the dawn chorus. You could do it all again. Big deal, so what? Please let me know when you've had enough. It's the last chance. Okay, corral. If you could do it all again.
Come out of retirement.
It's not me you've come to see. You've probably spotted him coming out of the dressing rooms. 5 years at the Rouleur Classic for this man. Please welcome the one, the only, the very unique Kenny van Vlamink. Kenny, how are you? Ça va? Ça va?
Is okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start, because We'll be here all night otherwise. It's been a difficult year for you. I mean, 5 years you've been coming here, but let's be honest, it's not been the easiest of years.
Yeah, it's been a tough. It's been a difficult year. The start of the year, I am adopting Adam Day.
Who?
Adam Day, the former English European champion.
Ah, okay.
And he's coming on stage. Adam, come on stage. He's he's a big. Ever seen with my eyes, but not just Robert with my eyes, with my brain.
You see him with your brain.
See him with my ears, and also with my mind, soul. So we have many good times on the canals. I'm with spending many times. We have a wonderful season. So Adam is sponsored by the Lotto Soodles. It is a noodle manufacturer. So Lotto Soodles, noodles. These are my two guys who gets these are many plates apiece. But as you know, Adam is finishing with the cycling no, it's not possible. It's too expensive, but he's a beautiful guy, and I have many problems. I was coming to England on my hovercraft, and because of the break, he has a wonderful groin for the manufacturing of the emotionals. This is a kennel with a pollution. It's one of my top 9 kennels in Belgium. This is the Sea of Peace. So many Mark Cavendish. You know Mark Cavendish, you're beating him one time in the national road race of the United Kingdom.
Kenny. Let's get back on track. Why has it been such a difficult year?
I
think you're skirting the question.
Yeah, I know. No, it's been different because I am with the new team, the Top Punk Science of Shoes, powered by Patrick's Peas, and we have the new P merchandise. It is available on the MyTag website. You can buy the hats and the T-shirts. These are the prototype T-shirts with the P's, and as you can see on the young man, the P's is wearing the nice shoes for the going to the nightclubs and also the pubs. Also for the job interviews. So sometimes it is important for the P's to embody the spirit of being a human.
What happened to your shoe?
It's a big problem with the Brexit.
Adam didn't take them, did he?
No, I've been coming on my hovercraft to the United Kingdom. I have my own hovercraft from the same company that makes the disused buses in the Gids in Belgium. And there's a big P with the shoes. But the customs, because of the Brexit, are taking my shoes.
But did you not see the news? It hasn't happened.
Yeah, you know, it's a big problem because they think that I am mechanically doping with my shoes.
You are quite fast.
And for me, this is a big problem. So I am coming with bare feet, it's very natural for my feet to make contact with the ground. I feel it one with the tarmac macadam. It is like I am a bicycle and a person at the same time, which is nice, but no, it's a big problem. So I have a contract with Adam for 2020. He has a big problem with the director sportif of the team. Always he's taking Lotto Soodles is a noodle manufacturer of noodles. Always is eating too many of the noodles. And it's a big problem for the guys in the team. So I call Adam. I say, Adam, it's a big problem. Huh? I need somebody to embody the spirit of peace. I need you to come to me, give me yourself. And he says, I'd forget the cycling with the guys at a lot of Soodles new turn to peace to make peace in myself. So for the 2020 season, he's retiring from announce the official kind of ambassador of the Patrick Space. Hij is Adam Bly.
So, what does the new contract involve? What's Adam going to be doing for you?
Nothing. It's ridiculous. You owe me money, for one, from last year.
No, it's not
Kenny.
possible. No, I speak to Patrick
You
Lefebvre.
can't even speak Flemish.
I can speak
two.
a lot of Flemish sometimes.
Ja, ik weet het niet, hè.
Yeah, but with Patrick
Yeah, exactly.
Lefebvre always
It's
told
rubbish,
me...
Kenny. You owe me money. You need to pay me for Patrick and his peas.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no,
Well,
it's
you owe me
one
money,
the
Kenny.
thing I like
You can't
about
pay me in peas. I've eaten all them peas already.
the thing I like about
He's got 3 mouths to feed as well now.
Adam
Yeah.
Blahide, he has a wonderful history of cycling at a medium level. And
Hey. Let's settle something once and for all. Tour of Morocco prologue. Who was the better rider, Adam Bly, or Kenny van Vlaming?
so I don't like to talk about my results, but one time in Tour of Morocco, 1995, 5, 6, maybe 9. And the Tour of Morocco, as you know, you're a commentator, you're a beautiful commentator with your languages from your lips and your mind. You know the Tour of Morocco is one of the biggest races in the Morocco
That's
region.
huge.
19th in the prologue of the Tour of Morocco. 19th. It is just inside the top 20. The 19th most fastest guy in Morocco.
They were dancing in the streets of Marrakesh.
Yeah, but when you take this and you give it to the young guys, you tell the young guys, you speak of the experience of Morocco, and you give it to them with your body.
Morocco's famous for Moroccan black as well. You weren't smoking some of that,
It's
were you?
not possible. No, Adam Black. Hi, they. To me, is one of the most beautiful and moyen riders of all time. And for 20 and 2021, we have signed a new 2-year contract. So.
Matt's his agent.
Matt is the agent. He said, I want to be your guy with the peas. So Mark is coming to the factory in Gits, and he's looking at the peas, and he's measuring every single tiny pea with his mind for the people.